Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Seven Oracles live stream. Dane Spitting Speeds Martinez.
You know what it is?
Martino
I'm representing
Puccio.
Wu-Tang because it was Wu-Tang that helped get the Knicks the championship over the weekend and change the energy. The stench of the stench of orange was out, and we got the burning the sage, and we got a little Knicks in 5 action. So I got to rep Wu right now.
Oh, it wasn't because you sat in the same spot on the couch or anything.
No.
Martino Puccio's here. Special guest, our soccer genius.
What's going on, fellas? Thanks for having me.
Martino's got to jump early, so don't we all? Martino, we're taking a look right now. World Cup, the Spain game. Cape Verde. First of all, the Seven Oracles are giant Cape. Our official team is Cape Verde, which, by the way, I learned today that I always pronounce it Cape Verde because I always say Cape Verdeans, and I guess it's just Cape Verde. Anyway, Martino, it's 0-0. What's going on?
Well, they just subbed on Lamine Yamal, so this could shift like almost instantly with this. So this is someone who's just recovering from an injury in the first place, who didn't really play down the stretch for Barcelona. But for those who don't know, this is this teenager phenom, probably the best teenager in my opinion since Pele. I think he's that level, this accomplished at this moment in time. Messi was coming on a little bit later into his teen years, but what Yamal has done really, even on the international stage, is just sublime. And he might have a big moment here, but what are they? They're 175 right now, money line too. So this would be a little bit of an upset, but don't forget we've seen this before in the opening matches for some of the favorites. Spain, the last time they won the World Cup, lost to the Swiss in 2010, and obviously you were just talking about how Saudi Arabia beat Argentina back in 2022. So don't be too weary of it if one of the favorites has a difficult start to the tournament.
Well, Martino, as you read, though, I mean, like right now, like you can see live on the screen, Cape Verde, 4%. They're giving them, Kalshi's giving them a 4% chance to win. The tie's at 33, Spain's at 65, and they've gone down from obviously 90-something at the start. What would just sit tight and enjoy soccer, or we have seen this before? Is it worth taking a tie or even a Cape Verde might score kind of shot with not a lot of time left?
I don't think that's going to happen for Cape. At this point, it would just be Spain or a draw for me. It would be a very huge surprise. What they're going to be able to do is just maintain possession here, and they're probably going to work around to try and get a corner. I don't see Spain scoring from open play with this limited amount of time, but you never know. But Yamal, literally, it could happen any moment here with this kid. He's that insane. I would not touch it with Cape Verde. I would actually kind of play a game of chicken with Spain and see how close they can get to full time, where you get a really good price for what you would want to place it on. I think that would probably be the move for them because they're that good. I'd be stunned.
I've been flabbergasted, by the way, fellas, just watching this. How many opportunities Spain has had to put the ball in the back of the net?
Bar, great
that
save.
They have just one after another, and it feels like really uninspired finishes, which is weird. It's strange to me because they have such talented finishers. They've got playmakers everywhere on this team, and so just some of the finishes have been less than what I would consider to be less than stellar from a side that's so good. But this happens, and so I know I gave everybody Spain's going to blow out Cape Verde. Cape Verde has done a very good job of condensing the box. They've packed it in defensively. They've kept that hard back four line almost the entire game. And anytime Spain presses into the attacking half, they're dropping 8, sometimes 9 and 10 guys back to try to defend. So it's been hard to find lines, but even then, Spain has still found areas to operate and just have not put the ball in the back of the net.
Does that make you say look? Well, this is actually almost a Dane special in a way because that everything you just set up there, and looking at what the odds are right now, it just dropped a little bit more. I think I got to put 2 sets of readers on to be sure. But Dane, this is usually your move. Hey, even if it's 67%, Spain's been controlling. They've been almost hitting shots. Is this a put $20 on it, Dane special?
Yeah, listen, and Gene, Gene knows I always like to go with the conservative route, right? Like yesterday, when there was a game that was kind of close, I had it under 3.5 goals, right? Like I'll take the Germany money line, I'll take the Spain money line, absolutely, right? When we were watching Bitcoin, Gene will push it up to 67,200. I'm like, nah, just take the 66,900, absolutely, right? But what I wanted to ask Martino, because I know we only have him here for a little while, this expanded field to 48 teams, I think that this provides kind of some of these, conservative opportunities. Maybe Cape Verde is kind of putting in my eye on this right now, but some of these kind of fourth out of fourth in the group teams, right? Curacao, we saw get absolutely spanked by Germany. Are there other, groups and teams that we should look for that may wind up in this entire group stage going, 0 wins, 3 losses, and losing by 2, 3, 4 goals that we should look out for? I know people want to talk about the favorites, but I'm also thinking about fading some of these teams that really are only here because of the expanded field as kind of like, I don't want to say pity parties, but, opportunities to take advantage of some of the teams on kind of the low side who really shouldn't be in the same class as some of the teams that we all have come to understand and know in the World Cup kind of level.
Yeah, I think for me, Jordan is one of those sides in this where you're kind of looking at a team that even if they were to like try and prevent a goal differential to throw themselves in the conversation for a third place spot, they have no shot because Algeria, Argentina, and Austria, I think, are levels above what they can provide. So say Jordan's best opportunity, you could either argue it's against Austria or Algeria. What can they realistically do in that? And I think best case scenario for them is a draw. I don't see how it's going to end up going well for them. And in those moments too, they have to win. You have to get the 3 points. So when that happens, you're going to get opened up and diced open. Like a lot of these teams, like Curacao, good job for a few moments. The only time I really see Curacao is on the TV in August with the Little League World Series. I'd never really see them at this moment. It was crazy that they were even level at a certain moment in time too. Jordan is definitely up there with one of those teams. Uzbekistan is another one, but they're also with the Congo in that group, so it's not like they're clearly the worst team there. I'm trying to think. There was like one other side that I just think has absolutely no shot, and you could probably lean in the direction of Tunisia as well, especially after you could argue Sweden didn't even play well in qualifying, and then they got to this point in the tournament and they smacked them like 5-6-1 or whatever the scoreline was. Already fired their manager 1 game in, which is like that would be pretty embarrassing if I were them. And yeah, I think that's just kind of where you're going to be looking at it. I was pretty impressed that Haiti only lost 1-0 too. I thought that they would have put in a much worse performance. But yeah, Qatar as well. By the way, they were very lucky to scrape on by. I know you were talking about the finishing in this game with Spain. Swiss should have had like 4 or 5 in theirs. They were completely pathetic in that one. And then you can't even forget about Ecuador yesterday too. I thought Ivory Coast was very fortunate to.
Martino, in your experience, these teams adjust for like the rest of the group stage. I mean, like I know we saw. I keep going back to that 2022 example, I guess, because it's the most recent. But even then, that was kind of like that was a smaller normal field. There were no water breaks. It was in Qatar, different time of year, so it was a different time of the schedule, and like there was different conditioning and stuff like that. But I mean, like historically, just going back with like all the data that we have. Are the teams that you're like, oh man, they came out flat? Do they just start getting supercharged and play up to where we think they are? Like, how often does it happen that it's just like, oh, I guess we had them wrong? They're not playing ready for the World Cup right now.
I feel like Turkey is one of those teams.
Yeah.
Turkey came out pretty arrogant in theirs, and I thought they definitely should have been the favorite along the U.S. in that group. It's hard. You can capitulate mentally almost instantly, especially in a match in which you thought you should have won. And sides like Turkey traditionally, I don't like their manager. He used to manage AC Milan. It's just not a battle test.
Oh, you don't like something related to AC Milan? That's weird. That's not like
I know. Check my Instagram, right? So basically,
Martino Puccio.
Basically, I don't see a lot of teams bouncing back from that sort of stuff. It really kind of depends in the manner in which you lose too. Like if it's the Swiss, I think they're going to be able to bounce back. I know it wasn't a loss, but it feels like a loss when you're drawn against Qatar in that group. I think they bounce back because they were playing well overall. The finishing and the end product just isn't there. You can say the same for Ecuador. They were one of the best qualifying teams in the Americas. They only conceded 5 goals in that region. Obviously, their finishing is the exact point as to why they didn't win that game yesterday. I thought they absolutely should have. I think a team like that would bounce back. But when you see someone like Turkey just take a punch in the mouth, now you have 2 matches left. You have to play against Paraguay, which is really tough physical side. They could probably come out on the other side with that. But then you have to play the U.S. on their home soil. It doesn't matter what part of the country you're going to be in out west. They're going to be pushing and attacking the entire time. This U.S. side is completely different from what we've ever seen in style and how they're approaching matches. So I would not be shocked at all if Turkey just capitulates completely with that, because if there's one match that you could ill afford to lose, it's Australia in the group, in my opinion.
Let's say like the Spain Cape Verde tie is about to flip to the favorite as we enter, like, I think the 81st, 82nd minute. Dane, Gene, what, like, anything we should be doing here, or just watch these lines crisscross?
I'm trying to wait and see how long I can wait to get Spain to get a goal.
It's like 2-1 right now, right? Like, you gotta jump on that now, right?
Yeah, because I think they're gonna put one in here. I think there's gonna be, it might just happen right now as we're watching it. But like, I think they're gonna put one in here because they'll start to feel the pressure. And I will say this, even if this ends in 1-0, good luck to whoever Spain plays next. Who's next on there? Who's next on there?
Saudi Arabia or Uruguay. I forget which one.
Yeah, whoever it is going to get, Saudi Arabia is going to get like the best Spain that they can possibly get. You can't rely on them to hit the crossbar and just dribble something straight into the goalkeeper's lap every time. Like, they're going to get sharper, and there'll be changes, and people will feel the pressure, and they will come out with a lot more steam. And obviously in the second, when your second group stage game, there's more pressure. You can't just stay back and try to play for draws all day. You're gonna have to get a little bit more aggressive there.
I'm in on Spain. 52 cents right now.
Oh, let's go. Yeah, it's gonna happen at some point. I mean, I'm with Martino and Gene thinking that you could even hold here and try to get the time as it gets closer and closer to the end of the match. I do think Spain will ultimately put one in. I know we only have Martino for a little bit. I want to ask him one more thing here, though. Kind of, this reminds me now with the expanded field of like March Madness on some level. We're at the beginning. We're talking about Cinderella. We're talking about these crazy upsets, but ultimately the cream rises to the top, right? And I know Spain, who is playing right now, we'll see if they get this goal. But France, they're kind of the 2 co-favorites in this one. What I want to ask you about, because I've been trying to find cash out options, teams that are 2% on Kalshi that all of a sudden may, get to the quarterfinals, and I could even cash out at 8 or 9% if they move up in that kind of second or third tier, Martino, where you have the Portugals, the Argentinas, the Brazils, maybe even the Netherlands, or kind Germany, of Belgium or Germany, right? Like, are there any teams there that you think can actually go all the way? I don't want to call it a quote unquote long shot. I'm not asking about the US. I kind of think Norway is interesting with Holland plus and a lot of 20 something year olds. But are there any teams that are in that kind of second tier that you really think, in the 3% level, the 4% level, that are in fact viable outside of the big heavyweights like Spain and France?
Oh, absolutely. I think this tournament's the most open that I've seen in a while with like who could win this, right? Because I know like each tournament is different, right? But we're talking about France reaching a 3rd consecutive final just to get to the final. It's a really difficult thing to pull off. So with that, I kind of like tend to lean towards the field. And also like the point of, we have 48 teams here. What happens with 3rd place teams? There could be a group in which where we see like Senegal, France, that a 3rd place team there could be a really difficult out in the knockout stage. That could change things and flip it on its head. And again, maybe there's a team or two or like a favorite that could drop to the 2nd spot, or they get a difficult opponent in the 2nd round. I mean, Mexico, how do they get an advantage if they make the knockout stage? Is it really tough to play in that altitude? You never know what could happen. That kind of stuff is really difficult to handle for these teams. I think it's wide open. Like on paper for me, like I'm leaning towards the Spains of the world. Portugal, the big question mark is finishing. Cristiano Ronaldo is 41. There's 2 sides to it. It's like, holy shit, This guy is 41, still
That's young,
playing in the World
Martino. That's
Cup.
like nothing, man. Come on.
Okay, well, I don't know. I did the best I could there. But also at the same time, it's like we're relying on a 41-year-old to try and carry us to win the first World Cup. And also a guy who's never scored a knockout goal in the entire tournament. They have the best midfield. I still think they have the wingers and the creativity to go deep into the tournament. But I would play the field there absolutely all day. Like this is a tournament that we've never seen before. The Heat, we're also going to get into mid-July at that point. And we know what it could be like. A final in Jersey. It's gross. It's gross, man. They're giving these guys water breaks and temperatures that necessarily they don't need it, in my opinion. So I would play the field with it all day. I don't think there's a clear-cut team. Each team has a certain flaw to them. I think what we're seeing with Spain right now, I'm not truly surprised by. If they struggle a little bit somewhere, it could be their finishing. They don't have a dominant striker. And again, Argentina, I think it truly is on how Messi is used. If Messi is used as this creator and how we see LeBron kind of age, let him be a point guard, let him try and distribute. If you have him trying to be that top goal scorer, then you're going to exhaust a lot of his energy, and I don't think you're going to be able to reach the heights that you want. But I would probably lean in the direction of the field. They're absolutely worth it. The Germanys of the world. I'm not convinced on Brazil, personally speaking. I would stay away from them. But yeah, Germany all day, like Argentina, like those teams are fine. Like you shouldn't be regretting any of those chances for them because all these teams, like those 6-7 teams right there, like towards the top that you're considered like your overall favorites, any of them could beat each other. No one should be surprised if any of that happens.
Martino.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Really
Then we'll let you go.
Yeah. Real quick before you get off here, Gyökeres, is he the best goal scorer in the world right now?
I don't think so. I mean, if you just look at that one game, you're like, okay, this guy's that. I think he struggled with Arsenal.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No. I don't even think he's the best scorer on his own team. Isak is tremendous. I mean, he had the injury this season with Liverpool, so you weren't able to see him as much. I would argue that, but what Mbappe has at this moment, Mbappe's got bad PR coming into this, and I don't necessarily even think it's warranted because that's coming from PSG winning back-to-back Champions Leagues.
Yeah.
So like that to everyone else is like, look what we did without you, instead of looking at the Real Madrid situation where, he was their best player this year and he was carrying them and doing his job. And he's still the best international player in the world, in my opinion. He's shown up tournament after tournament. They have insane depth where they're sitting guys that would start for any other team in this tournament, maybe not Spain. And you're saying to yourselves, okay, well, I'm a little weary about that. Sometimes you just can't overthink things. If they're that good and that talented, you kind of have to do that because, I don't know, you could draw parallels with so many other teams, right? Where you were trying to find reasons as to why not to bet the Seattle Seahawks, despite the fact that they were showing you throughout the entire year how good they were. And you were kind of waiting for the other shoe to fall off, like some people doing that with France. I think Mbappe there, but if you were going to go towards like the golden ball, like who's going to have the most goals in the tournament, I do actually think Lautaro Martinez.
What happened?
Nothing. Just a block shot inside the box there. It's almost tipped in. We're 88th minute here. So you're
88th now minute. Spain's at 35%. The draw's at 62%. Cape Verde's at 3%.
And again, don't forget we get stoppage time here. So there's a hydration break, substitutes. So realistically, you're looking closer to 10 minutes left in this. I would still do it. They just getting a corner kick right now. But if you were talking about who's going to score the most goals in the tournament, someone I've loved and unironically plays for the rival side of my favorite team is Lautaro Martinez in Argentina. 2022, him and Julian Alvarez. Alvarez is really someone who is like a tweener. He's not a true striker goal scorer like that. He can play out on the wing and be creative. Lautaro is that traditional goal scorer. I think he has that upside because I don't think Messi is going to be that type of goal scorer. He's going to be trying to create a bunch more, and the same can go for Julian. So I think Lautaro, if healthy, and they're not going to be playing Messi full 90 minutes in every single game. They want to keep him fresh for those knockout stages when they get there. So I think that's definitely someone to kind of look at. And Harry Kane, also same thing. They're going to be feasting in these games where they're off against a weak group stage. Because that's where you start farming all those goals. We saw that happen in 2018 where like he destroyed Panama and he got like, I don't know how many, 3 or 4 goals over there. And that just adds up over time. But Gyökeres, I think this was probably the best that Sweden's going to have in terms of scoring goals. So,
yeah, it's just weird because it feels like there's something it's something unquantifiable about people that the ball just finds their foot, at the right time. It's almost like Robert Horry and how Robert Horry was just always in position.
Playoff risers. Playoff risers.
Yeah.
There's tournament risers all the time too. I mean, that kind of happened. I don't know if you guys remember Shaqiri from Switzerland. He would show up in every single international tournament, and you go and watch him at the club level, and you're like, this guy's pretty average. He's mediocre at this point. But yeah, I mean, listen, I think that there is that possibility with that. I don't think that there's anyone, truthfully. I think, well, also like Norway, by the way. I think Norway is being overlooked by a lot.
Yeah, I like Norway.
They dominated.
Yeah.
They dominated in qualifying. They're going to be able to score a ton. It's not like that they were just, they had an easy qualifying group. They have some talented players. This is a system. They play like juggernauts. They're not going to keep their foot off the gas. How much stoppage time they give Spain here? I'm not really sure.
I haven't seen it pop up yet.
5. Okay, there you go. So you get 5 minutes. There really isn't that much, all things considered.
Now the draw's at 77%.
Oh,
yeah. So
Spain's down to 22.
You can get Spain at 21 if you still got balls for the last 5 minutes here.
You know me.
This happens all the time, man. They're just like a goal, 3 minutes into stoppage time, and sends poor Cape Verde home and dashing their hopes and blah blah blah.
Yeah. So
people that are running out
to
get to.
I got some time. You keep going.
People that are running out and want to put Balogun on Golden Boot alert. Should they hold their horses, or is he somebody that you see could legitimately be a finisher that we haven't seen for the state since maybe like a Dempsey?
Listen, I think Flo Balogun is a beast. My little question right now is like on Pulisic's health after that. Does he start in the next game? I think he might be coming off the bench, and that changes things a little bit.
Just because he's so creative.
Yeah.
Also, how many games is the U.S. really going to play compared to England, compared to France, let's say, right? Like you would need the U.S. to really get maybe to the semis in order to have enough to compete with these guys.
And again, never been to a quarterfinal, so it's like uncharted territory with that. And the other problem is with the U.S. too. It's just going to be high scoring games. If they're going to go deep in this tournament, they got to have shootouts. There's no way that they're going to be able to win by 4-1 score lines or 2-0 score lines. It's just not in their DNA and the talent that they have. They're just going to be keeping their foot on the gas and live and die by the 3, right? Balogun is a beast, though. With Ricardo Pepi, I know Mauricio Pochettino is a fan of him. He's just not that much of a killer in front of goal. I think he'll be a fine super sub, but Balogun is like clearly head and shoulders above. From my opinion, the best striker, probably, if you want to consider Dempsey one, since then. I mean, he has.
I'm just thinking finishers. I'm not even necessarily thinking, striker, but like a guy who can put the ball in. Like I just feel like the U.S. has had a problem since I was a kid of watching them. Like, who's putting the ball in the back of the net consistently? And if Balogun can be that guy, then that I think that changes a lot.
He had a third. The third one got called back for offsides, right? That was him for
by like inches. Yeah. So he really had that opportunity. I think that they're still going to be able to get goals against Turkey and Australia. Like I don't think it stops with Paraguay. That they literally can do this. And also, I don't take too much away from friendlies, but they have to ramp up those friendlies because when you automatically qualify for a tournament, you don't go through the difficulty of the qualifying stages where you need to work things out and you need to put your best foot forward. A lot of guys were sitting out there in call-ups and trying to be healthy just for this tournament. And then you started to see them turn it up against Senegal and Germany, where, sure, necessarily they might have not had their biggest intensity because of those players, and they did have to go through qualifying. But at the same time, you're really sitting there saying to yourselves, they weren't lying about who they were in those friendlies. They are going to try and attack you constantly. And that's a moniker of Pochettino. So I would not be shocked if Balogun gets a little bit more. It looks like Cape Verde actually has a chance at a counter here. Nope, absolutely terrible. So you basically got a minute and change left in this one. So you really
since Gene asked his question, it was 42 million. Right now it's a $47.5 million market on Kalshi. Like this just is not. Look at that money going up. Like,
Horrible.
it just doesn't stop, man. Like it's just
Yeah.
like it's humongous.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's amazing.
Anyway, Martino,
it's amazing the money.
We've been trying to let you go for a while. I know you got another stream to get to. I'm sure there's.
Thank
gotta
you,
be some kind of
Martino. We
backup.
appreciate
Yes.
you.
No, thank you guys. Love talking
Good
to
to see
you.
you again,
as always.
Bobby.
Thanks,
Congratulations-
Martino.
Congratulations to Knicks fans. Take care. All right, fellas. See you
Yeah,
later.
buddy.
There you go. Thanks. Yeah, man. Cape Verde 1%, Spain 6%, Thai 93%.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and people you're gonna be able to quote this game now, like whatever we do, like just speaking as content people. You go, oh, remember these Spain and Cape Verde, man? Like that was, you know, like you can use this now as an example for whatever you want to do with your money for the rest of the World Cup. I think, right?
Yeah, I can use this as an example of why, you know, you shouldn't just mark what I say as law, because I told you that Spain was going to beat these people, you know, 5-0, and they
lot
really
of people
should.
did,
Like that's the sad part of it is if you watch the match, you see 6 goals, like you can see it, and they just tricked off all the opportunity for goals that I normally don't see a Spain side do. Like, oh wow, so close again. Like they're just playing with people now, right? Like this is just edging. But this is, you know, let's look at the positive for this. For Cape Verde, this is a fantastic finish. It doesn't even matter what happens after this.
This is
They're
the greatest
probably gonna
sporting moment
get
of the
whacked.
country. This is
They're,
like
they're probably gonna get beat in their next, you know, game. Like you can't stay like this. You can't just play like put everybody in front of the goal defense the entire time. You're gonna eventually whatever, right? But the fact that they got a draw puts them in position to be able to play a little bit more conservative in their next match before their third match, where they're going to have to open up, and that's probably where they get, you know, that's probably where it gets a little bit more tricky for them. But shout out to them, and shout out to the people of Cape Verde, who a lot of you found out today, supremely talented country. And we ain't talking about the soccer.
lot of potential over there.
Lot of quality. That's a quality sign right there, boy. I'll tell you.
But here's the thing. Also, if they can do a clean sheet against Spain, for goodness sake, who's to say they can't do the same thing against Uruguay, which is their second matchup, right? And if they have 2 points going into their last group stage game against Saudi Arabia, who is actually going into the tournament, the worst of that group, right? Like there is a chance. And I mean, that's the crazy part. We were talking to Martino about, the 48-team field. 8 of the 12 groups will have their third place team get into the knockout stage. And there's no reason why they can't get another draw in another matchup if they can hold Spain scoreless. And I get your point, Gene. I've been watching this game, like 3 crossbars, right? Lucky to be sure. But, who's to say they can't get 2 or 3 points and actually go on some kind of Cinderella, not run. I'm not saying they're going to win a knockout stage, but actually get to a knockout stage.
So can I hop in here real quick? Because I wanted to say something here about them. I think they played this game exactly the way they needed to play this game, to do exactly what they needed to do, to put them in a position right now to move on to the next round. Because, like you said, you're not going to win games if you just park the bus and put everybody in front of the goal like they did here to kind of defend. But you can get a tie against a team like Spain, who should have scored, even with them parking the bus, still should have scored a couple goals. But those are the kind of things you need to go your way, especially in your opening game, because now they have 1 point. Yep. So if they beat Saudi Arabia, they're probably the 2 in this bracket, or the 3 at worst case, and they're moving on to the next round. So they did exactly what they needed to do against a team that they had no business beating, but they did put together the game plan to be able to get a tie and move on and put themselves in a position. So shout out to them and all the potential that country has. I am a Cape Verde fan for life right now. We definitely got to go and visit.
We got to get some jerseys. Check out. I just put this up on the screen. The Cape Verde. This is today. This is just today. The Cape Verde stage of elimination, completely flipped. Like the group stage is, 30 the round of 32. They'll get eliminated in, jump to 40%. So now, Cape Verde, according to Kalshi, if you consider it a prediction market, and they tell the future, the Cape Verde is, I would say, looking at these numbers, expected to make it.
That's
to the round
how
of
big
32
that
now.
point against
Yeah.
Spain was, because everybody just put down that as a 0 and then did the math there. When you add a point to that and take it away from Spain as well too, Spain has work to do now too. I mean, listen, Uruguay, they're not as good as they have been, but that's a country that's always solid. Like if they lose that game, they're in a rough spot there too. And they were talking about it on the broadcast too. What happens if Spain now comes in second in that group? You're going to have some funky matchups, in the round of 16 where, rather than a cakewalk or an easy game against a, nation that's barely top 25, you might have to get there by going through 2 or 3 top 10 teams to get to the finals, which is something that a lot of people expected Spain to do before this started.
We're on the edge of we're on the edge of the Bitcoin Edge 2:00. It's going to flip to the 3:00 market in a minute. I'll keep refreshing as we go along here.
Started a 3:00 march, if you will, but yeah, I agree with you guys with saying they did what they were supposed to do. My only thing is that the way they got the draw, it falls apart if only one goal goes in.
Sure.
That's how fragile it is.
Yeah.
And so like they would have to put up clean sheets versus everybody. And and if that happens, it's going to be 0-0. They're not a really talented scoring side. They're probably not going to make it because they won't have enough in the point differential to get them through as the wild card person. They'll have 0 goals. Like that's the only way they're most likely getting this thing done is 0 goals. I don't see them like I see them at best drawing Saudi Arabia. I think that's a draw probably happening. I think that Uruguay will see what Spain did and find ways to take advantage of the things that Spain didn't take advantage of. They'll get a result there. I don't think that Cape Verde will put a goal on the board against Uruguay. They might put one on against Saudi Arabia, but if they do, it'll be 1-1 or 1-0. If they get a win, then yeah, we're talking different. I don't know if I'm seeing a win coming out of this for them.
So I think that Uruguay game is going to go very differently than this game did, because I think that their strategy actually worked out really well today, because 2 of the fastest players on Spain's team, the 2 young guys on the outside, neither one of them started today. So they had their more technical team out there, and that doesn't really work well when everybody's in the same part of the field and you don't have any room to operate.
Yeah.
What Spain really needed was to go with some of the speed on the outside, whether it was, Williams or Lamine at some point, and kind of let those guys go one-on-one. That would have been able to break this open. But because they didn't have them,
There were three moments in the game where they pushed it wide, and he went with I forget the left wing's the left wing's name, but he headed the ball to the ground like 3 times right at the goalie. It was like nothing. I'm like, that's all you could do? Like no just laser shot into the nothing that's gonna make the goalie have to react fast. Everything gave him time to be able to look at it, except for those ones that weren't going to go anyway because they were going to hit the crossbar, and he just happened to knock them over.
So, Gene, let me ask you this, because Nando had that stage of elimination. Nando, if you could bring that back up. It sounds like, let's put it this way, right? We talk about buying the dip and reading the markets and all that, right? Like there all of a sudden is going to be love for Cape Verde, right? And so I wonder if you don't believe it, Gene, if you kind of revert back to form here, to me, it sounds like group stage is or no on the round of 32 is kind of the way to go. Like if you want to fade them now, Nando shows here how all of a sudden it jumped up, and now the favorite in essence is that they're going to get to the round of 32, probably get eliminated. Then you might be getting value saying that they're going to not advance anymore, right? Because thinking that what happened today is unsustainable, that this is the anomaly, this is the fugazi, right? Now everyone's going to get swept up here and like, what I just said. If they could do a clean sheet against Spain, they could do it against Uruguay. Maybe they pull out something crazy against Saudi Arabia. It sounds like what you're saying is don't buy the hype. And that just the same way can create value fading what everyone is saying right now, can kind of get swept up in it. Like Nando wants to talk about a revolutionary tale of Cape Verde. Everybody wants to be like, yo, they've got potential.
Carnation Revolution.
Maybe make sure you check out the newsletter tomorrow, because there's definitely going to be a Cape
the way
Verde
here could
newsletter
potentially
now.
Is this no on round of 32, right?
Yeah.
Which was probably like 90%, is now down to 75%. Like, will they advance to the group stage? All of a sudden you're getting a little boost that, quite frankly, Gene, you do not believe in. So does that create the opportunity for you?
I think so. And I was looking at that earlier when they put that up. I was like, oh, I wonder what the group stage is. I would even be willing to wait until next game, because I'd love for them to get another draw and then go into their third game where people are like, oh no, Cape Verde is about to do the unthinkable. They're about to get out of the group stage, only to realize that when whatever their result is in the third, like in their third match, they don't have any goals, or they don't have many goals. They're going to get tripped by some of these teams that are just scoring more goals and have more goals in place than they do. So if you're looking at them, they have Uruguay. That's their tough match that's left. And then the Saudi Arabia match is going to be one where I think that Saudi Arabia is looking at Cape Verde as their opportunity to,
So Uruguay is 68% against Cape Verde. That just dropped. And Saudi Arabia, this might be for you, Gene. Saudi Arabia is 36% against Cape Verde. Saudi Arabia was like as high as in the 70s and has gone down to 36% against Cape Verde in that game matchup, right? The same with Uruguay. Uruguay was as high as, in the 70s, and that has just dropped down a little bit to 68. So there's a little bit of a gap now all of a sudden here.
You know what?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to, be the guy who goes against the guys, but
you should.
My gut is with you, like with you guys, obviously. But I'm just thinking, like, 4D chess. I think a lot of people are going to look at what happened last year with Argentina. I keep saying last year, in 2022 with Argentina, who went on to win the entire thing like they were supposed to, and be like, oh, it's just the same thing again. The first game they come out flat, blah blah blah. Whereas maybe, and Gene, I also agree with you. Like, if that's the way they play, that's the way they play. But if they keep racking up things that Saudi Arabia didn't in 2022, right? I think people just dismissed it. Like, more so Argentina losing, being like, they'll be fine. And eventually, they went on to win the whole thing. But like, I think people are going to do that with Spain. I think they're going to use that as an example, as, recent history of just counting out Cape Verde, like without remembering, like, maybe Croatia's a terrible example. But the Croatia run, in 2022, people forget about some of that stuff. It's just going, World Cup comes around every 4 years. You flush the stuff from your memory, but there were a couple underdogs that made it, I think, to the round of 16. And again, like Cape Verde has given us no real reason to think that, but I do
Cape
think
Verde,
like just kind of dismissing it might be what most people do, which might then produce value again, flipping on the other side with the fervor of the retail shoppers who are going to go crazy for Cape Verde now.
Listen, we had Cape Verde at 16.7% to advance for the group. That is now at Kalshi at 46%. So, Gene, you can get 54% for Cape Verde to not advance, which is 1.76 times your money. Okay, if you want to sell the buzz, that's the way to go. Cape Verde right now on Kalshi, they've got still Spain at 96%, Uruguay at 87%, but Cape Verde has hopped Saudi Arabia. Cape Verde is at 46%, and Saudi Arabia is at 31%. So the no on Cape Verde, where Gene is trying to poo-poo all the fun, the no on Cape Verde is 54%, and that's almost double your money right there. So if you do not believe what we just saw, that is the play.
I'm just changing our YouTube title to make it Cape Verde in the title. We should have done that because we love them.
Another thing to think about here, right, is with the prediction markets, you want to try to buy low and sell high. So if you were somebody who was on Cape Verde before this game, now is the time where you should be selling that if you want to get rid of it. Maybe keep a little bit of it, sell a couple shares of it, depending on how many you had. But, that's the whole point right now. So if you wanted in on them, now is not the time to buy in on them on the yes side, right? Like now's the time to be like, okay, now we want the no side, because now the market has overshot where it should be based off of a tie that we had. That's probably a 1 in 10,000 type outcome. I actually want to look at the simulation and see how many times we actually had this game not ending up with Spain win, not even with Cape Verde winning, but like just not ending up with the Spain win. How many times?
I can tell you on our card, on our prediction card, all of the models showed a Spain win. Like all of the heavy percentages was like 6-0. 5-0, 4-0,
right here.
3-0.
Like that's what I'm saying. Is it wasn't even
I'm staring at it right now.
Spain
We had
Spain
Spain,
win.
95%.
The question of by how much.
Draw.
But simulation 3,981 had a 0-0 tie. That's the world we're in right now. That's the universe we got to follow.
Yep.
See what it's. I mean,
we had 95% Spain, 4% draw, and 1% Cape Verde.
All right, so 4% draw is actually a little more often than I thought it would be, even. But
let me ask you this. In the same way, I mean, listen, we still know that Spain has the talent. Lamine Yamal wasn't even playing for most of this game. Is another way to go. I'm looking right now at the World Cup winner, where Spain and France were both at like 17% going into this, right? France has gone up to 18%. Spain has gone down to 14%. So just like you say, Benny, right? Like you go Oppo, could now, with the shock of this result, oh my God, we thought we were going to score 5, 6, 7 goals, just like Germany, right? And they get, Cape Verde to draw them. Now, all of a sudden, Spain is down to 14% to win the whole darn thing. Do you want to buy that dip as another way to go, Benny?
So most likely my answer is going to be no, but it's actually a really good question. And you guys asked me one time what the Bayesian model is all about, the one that we have over there on the site.
You mean exactly the Bayesian model?
This is exactly what it talks about here, is that, if we were talking the exact same set of facts, which is, hey, Spain didn't play yet. They're going to get their 3 points most likely, just like France is going to get theirs. And they're both. Then the numbers, if they switch like that, I'd be like, yes, absolutely, this is the time. But lots of things have changed now with that tie. There are now a million more possibilities or permutations of the way this thing plays out, where Spain may end up as the 2 seed. And if they end up as the 2, then they will have a very different set of teams that they're going to play in the round of 32, the round of 16. They may have to win against, 4 or 5 of the best teams in all of football here for them to get to the World Cup now. Whereas if they would have won that division, maybe they probably would have had an easy game, maybe even 2 easy games before they actually had to have one where we were like, hey, this might actually be a sweat and they really have to play well here. So the chances of all of those different things happening changes the math on everything here. And it changes the math, honestly, significantly enough where I haven't done it yet, obviously. The game just ended. But I would say that Spain would come in probably even below that, maybe closer to 11 or 12%, because a lot of those games where they would have been, 2-1 favorites, +2, minus 200, minus 300, now might be games where they're only minus 150 or minus 160 against the opponents that they have, which again, we won't know for another 2 weeks who those opponents are going to be or how this all ends up. But there are a lot more possibilities that you didn't really factor in. You just kind of factored in, well, Spain's going to get their 3 points here. And then, you do the math from there. A lot of that now changes. So that number could actually drop a lot. And France does deserve to go up. How much they deserve to go up? Again, I don't know. It all depends on, how much of an easier path they may have gotten now.
Well, listen, France hasn't played yet, right? Like they could also underperform in their first game.
Yeah.
I just want to do something real quick here for everyone who's watching along at home. Let me just change my share screen for a second, because Benny just was talking about minus 160, minus 150. We have a tool that, I know this is a little belaboring the point, but look, minus 160 means you're talking about 61.5%. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. I just wanted to show that. I think it's
Just
cool.
Now put in minus 300 so they can see the difference between what the teams they should be like and how likely Spain would be to win those games.
Yeah.
There you go.
So see, Spain went from basically a little better than a coin flip to, a game that they should have where they're a 3-1 favorite, where, most of the different branches of the simulation are going to show them winning that game, moving on. And, And when you start stacking up a bunch of 60% chances versus a couple 75% chances at the beginning, that's when your odds really start changing to make it to that level. So that's why I said it could even be a bigger drop once you actually do the math on it all.
Hey, we've blown past the Bitcoin Edge and the promised fantasy football stuff that we're going to do. I've been checking the Bitcoin Edge here. You guys been talking, not like I'm not paying attention, but there's just watch right now. There's no lean on anything right now. Bitcoin is sitting 66,777. It's being weird, I guess. Benny, is that how we're supposed to read it? Like if there's no lean,
no, it's more.
Watch?
So again, the tool basically just takes what's going on in the options market versus what's going on in the Kalshi market, right? And while we were all sleeping last night, there was some kind of deal, and the dollar moved and everything moved. So Bitcoin had its big move overnight last night. So a lot of this is just like people catching up. So we kind of missed the big move because it was before any of us were really awake. It was really overnight is when the big move happened. Bitcoin was up a lot. So now it's just kind of like that consolidation, choppy trading thing here where, there's not news that's moving it. All the news happened overnight. So right now it's just kind of trading sideways. And again, when it trades sideways, if there's no edge, the whole point of the tool is once it starts moving, the edge is going to tell you, hey, this is moving before people actually start really seeing the movement, because the options market's going to have that edge first before the Kalshi market kind of catches up to it. So this is basically just like, hey, everybody's kind of positioned where they're positioned today. Nobody's really like making a big bet it's going to go up or big bets that it's going down. There's no real volume for it, which again is also part of the tool, right? Like sometimes it's going to tell you, hey, if you want to just play around with $1 or $2 because you're bored and you want to see if it goes up or down, be my guest. But, for the most part, it's going to trade sideways here. So if you want to make money, you can go to, pick a number $200 or $300 above the range that it's trading in and click no, and then pick one, $200 or $300 below the range that it's trading in and click yes. And, you can just take a little bit of money on both sides if it just keeps trading sideways for a while. So there's always a way to do it. But, yeah, it's kind of a boring way right now when there's not a lot of movement going on.
Let's move on then to fantasy football. And I want to start we're all fantasy. Like we all met through fantasy, the four of us here, and most people we associate with. So we are a source for fantasy football goodness, I think. We've all won awards for it, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to start the most intriguing thing I've seen, and I want to start with Gene actually, because Gene has been louder than most about Shedeur Sanders. This Cleveland Browns situation, Gene, I feel like Shedeur Sanders may have kind of crossed over everything I'm reading, everything I'm seeing. I don't know if people are resigned to the fact that Shedeur Sanders is going to be good and that he's going to be the starter. But have we hit a point now where we can talk about Shedeur Sanders normally, without all the stigmas and people hating him and not liking him and he's a 5th round pick and he slid to the point now where he's had some good OTAs, he had some amazing throws in OTAs. Has just gotten far away enough from the draft and I guess from his dad in a way where it's kind of all right, Shedeur Sanders is my number 11 QB and no one bats an eyelid. Is that what are your thoughts on it?
No, we haven't. And here's the thing that fantasy managers have to be really careful of. The rhetoric behind Shedeur Sanders, it's all based off of the fact that people need content. None of it is actually real. None of it is actually people being honest. It's just people doing what's necessary to keep the hamster wheel moving. Shedeur Sanders is big business beyond anything that we've seen. You can't talk Josh Allen like this. For some reason, I'll give you how crazy it is. For some reason, Josh Allen is not the quarterback in the NFL who has the most pressure to win. I don't understand how he's not if he's supposed to be the best quarterback in the world, and they keep getting him weapons and different weapons to make it easier for him. They fired a coach so that they can make the offensive coordinator the coach to give him a more palatable offense. I don't understand how it's not him, but it's never him, right? It's always other people's fault. Yet people will in the same breath tell you that, well, Shedeur Sanders, it's his this and it's his that, as if he doesn't get any of the grace that somebody who is supposedly eons better than him is getting. So, but that's because Josh Allen doesn't move the needle the same way that Shedeur Sanders moves the needle. Polarizing players are always going to be looked at for content's sake because the people who do it know that they're going to get responses on both sides.
Where do you
And
have?
so,
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying we don't get real accurate understanding of how well he's doing and how like what he's doing well, what he's not doing, because people are just telling you the hot take in the moment to get the reactions.
Dane, where do you have him ranked? Do you have your rankings? Do you have like a general idea where you think Shedeur Sanders is? Is he going to be like your wait on a QB guy, or do you want nothing to do with him? I mean, he's got weapons, right? Like
he does. And to be quite honest, my biggest take on the Cleveland Browns is really potentially a sophomore slump for Harold Fannin, who I was all over the place on last year. I loved him last year, and he became tight end 6 or 7. But now there are other options. They double dip with Casey Concepcion. They double dip with Denzel Boston. You still have a Judy. You got Todd Monken talking about Isaiah Bond as a legitimate deep threat. Yes. You got Judkins there now, who all of a sudden is going to take it. But to me, he's not one of the guys that I'm particularly high on, and it's not because I don't agree with some of the things that Gene is saying. If you look on Kalshi right now, Shedeur is only 42% to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, right? Like, I'm not necessarily going to go to bat for Deshaun Watson, but if you believe in Shedeur Sanders like that, then heck, you should just bet him at Kalshi right now at 42% to just be the starter, right? But I think there are so many guys that, the old adage to wait on quarterback, I think there's so many out there that you can, in fact, wait on, that I would not take one at this point that is less than 50% to even be the starter for his team, right? Like, there's plenty of options out there. Don't get me wrong. I agree with Gene in the kind of manufactured narrative around Shedeur Sanders that I agree with. But anywhere, like, you're not going to get me to have Penix or Tua down there in Atlanta just because there's something of an open question. You're not going to get me to have Mendoza or Cousins in Vegas because there's something of an open question about when the baton will be passed, right? So when I have any kind of question at the quarterback position, I will just wind up going elsewhere and getting shares of somewhere else because I think there's so many guys that are going to throw between 3,800 and 4,200 yards. I will just go for the safer bet when I'm drafting that QB2 in my Superflex league.
Gene, do you have $1 billion? I mean, this is what, $80,000 marker right now? Is like 70,000 of that yours? Like
no,
yes, on not at all.
You know me, man. I'm looking for 3 and 4 to 1 when I'm out here trying to get the bread in, unless I'm trying to put down heavy money, right? Like I would be willing to bet heavy money on Shedeur Sanders because for all that we've seen out of Deshaun Watson, we've seen it with no contact and with no real legitimate full speed reps. The man just came off of 2 blown Achilles, multiple shoulder surgeries. Like, he hasn't been hit and he hasn't had to run legitimately full speed. He might get into the preseason where I'm assuming they're going to fight it out for this, for this starting job, get into the first preseason game and blow it like roll an ankle or, bang up his shoulder. Now he can't start. I think that Shedeur Sanders has proven to be a lot more durable in his time, especially if you go back to his time in Colorado, where he was just getting absolutely manhandled, behind one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen in my life. And so, like, I look at that and go, that's a side. But if we're just talking about fantasy rankings, here's the thing that I think people don't consider with Shedeur Sanders. Is he a top 12 quarterback in fantasy? No. Come on. Like, this is fantasy.
He doesn't run enough, right?
Yeah.
Even if he reload all those receivers,
he
right,
doesn't throw enough touchdowns. He doesn't throw enough touchdowns, but that's not his fault. That's a product of the offense that they're going to run. Todd Monken's going to run the football, right? He's going to run the football. So there's not going to be the opportunity necessarily for Shedeur Sanders to go out there and throw 40 touchdowns. He runs more than people think. He's more athletic than people think. But what hurts him is the consistency that he's going to have to just throw the ball. Now, where you might want to take a late flyer on a quarterback is in best ball. because in best ball, Shedeur Sanders is going to have a 300 and something game with 4 touchdowns and like 50 something yards rushing. Like one of those best, just having him as a best ball, having him in super flex leagues is going to give you a better number 2 or number 3 quarterback to be able to utilize than other people. But if we're just talking about in basic, on redraft fantasy, Shedeur Sanders isn't going to move the needle, the way that he does in real life.
And in best ball too, you got to remember that everybody loves all these Cleveland guys this year. So everybody's got somebody from Cleveland. You got, whether it's one of the young guys who people are taking as their flyers at the end, or, some of the guys that we know are going to be getting volume already, Fannin being up there getting drafted so high. So, you can grab him in the last round of best ball. If everything works out and he's the starter, you might end up with, a guy who's even lower owned that went undrafted in a bunch of the early ones, or, depending on how this all shakes out.
Dane, where are you on Judkins? We just talked about Monken's going to run the ball. Like Monken's going to run the ball. It's going to be, it's all eyes. Just
I think Judkins is a very stable RB2 this year. I think he's going to get fed. We're talking about Monken and the offense. And, he was in and out of the lineup last year. There was some off the field issues that kind of prevented him from getting with the team early on. I think Judkins is a very solid RB2. He should be drafted, kind of in that RB, I would say, 15 to 20 kind of range. And then these guys that are the sophomore years or their second seasons in the NFL, they have that first off season. They really get ingratiated. They're really working out. I could definitely see a leap in a sophomore season from Judkins. But the guy who I think is going to be a second year back that's going to take an even bigger leap that some people has as an RB2 that I think can be an easy top 10 running back is going over with the Chargers with Omarion Hampton. Okay, Omarion Hampton as a rookie last year was good, but I think we're going to get a much better version for a couple of reasons. One, both Pro Bowl tackles from the Chargers are healthy this year, right? In Slater and Alt. All of a sudden, that completely changes the run game potential for the Los Angeles Chargers. This guy, skill set wise, people thought was on par with Ashton Genty last year. And then what could be the biggest of it all, the new offensive coordinator with the Chargers is McDaniel, for goodness sakes. Look at what Devon Achane was able to do the last couple of years in Miami with McDaniel calling the plays. I think the Chargers are a value play to go very far in the AFC. And any competition that Omarion Hampton had last year is gone. We ain't going to care about Najee Harris or Kamani Vidal or Hassan Haskins. He was drafted to be a bell cow, to be that dude. And I think your Pro Bowl tackles being there again for the Chargers, the game script will be better for the Chargers this year. And the lack of competition means that Omarion Hampton, who is being drafted right now as like RB12 or 13, I believe can wind up being a top 8 running back. So if you're like me and you like to draft wide receiver at the top, you may still be able to get Omarion Hampton in the 3rd round of drafts to be your RB1. And I think that's the kind of value he is going to return, especially with the bookend tackles from the Chargers back and healthy this year. And McDaniel on the sticks calling the plays is going to open everything up.
Fantasy Pros has him as the number 9 running back in terms of ADP, 15 in terms of ECR. Benny, we got about 2 minutes. You want to take us home?
So what do we talk about? Running backs here?
Go ahead, Benny, whatever you want, man. We can talk about Cape Verde a little more if you'd like, man. This is the last 2 minutes.
Hey,
Benny time.
Here's a couple things I'll throw out there since we're talking a little bit of NFL action. I started putting some of the NFL stuff up on the site. None of it is completely done yet. We'll start promoting it a little more and pushing it out a little more when it is. But there's some pretty cool stuff that's up there already. I still haven't even figured out what pages we're putting together to figure out how to use it. But it'll be very similar to all the stuff we're doing here for kind of World Cup and getting all that there too. There are a couple fantasy things up there. I didn't go that deep into it because we're kind of leaning a little more towards the Kalshi and Poly Market stuff right now. And until they have a little bit more of they're supposed to have some player props coming up. When I see the player props kind of going up and those markets starting to get some money in it, then we'll do a little bit more content on that stuff for now than we have up there on the site. But in terms of the guys that they were talking about here earlier, I agree. I mean, Judkins and Amari and Hampton are two guys that are probably going to end up outperforming their ADP this year. And that's really what I look at as a best ball guy in the middle of June and July here. We'll worry about talking about like the redraft fantasy leagues when we get a little closer to August. Right now, it's kind of best ball season. So that's really where my head's at. And I like both of those guys in best ball.
All right. This has been the 7 Oracles Power Hour. We'll think of a good name for it as we go along and get a cool logo for it.
It's Power Hour. We got to start drinking, baby.
That's true. That's a horrible idea. We'll think of another name for it.
Yeah, let's switch the name right now. It's a little aggressive.
I'm not somewhere.
It'll be later next week.
Gotta finish the rest of the day. What are we still?
Hey, thanks to Martino Puccio, for Gene Clemens.
He was great. He was great.
For Gene Clemens, Dave Martinez, Benny Ricciardi. I'm not Rufino. We'll see you around. Good luck. We're all Cape Verde.
Nixon 5.